Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install macOS Sequoia on Proxmox. So this is the new way of installing Proxmox onto a computer, more specifically in a hypervisor called Proxmox Virtual Environment. So to do this, we're going to be using our Proxmox template script that we offer on the HSVE website. So we offer this to make it easier to deploy not just macOS but any Linux distribution, disk station manager, Windows Server, Windows 10, Windows 11, any macOS version. But if you stay tuned, I'm going to show you in the video what actually the script does and how it can benefit you once you purchase it. So let's get into it. So here at HSVE, we're obviously purpose-built in the consultation community within the virtualization sector, more specifically obviously in Proxmox virtual environment, and with the script you can deploy virtual machines quickly and very easily. So our one-click template script offers Windows, Linux and macOS templates. And if we scroll down here, you can see just an example. So we've got macOS Sequoia on the left hand side that we're going to be exploring more today, Windows 11 on the top right side, Windows Server 2022 on the bottom left, and Synology Disk Station Manager on the bottom right. So this is how you obviously can get things set up after you've bought the script. Now let's go into some pricing, because I know that probably most of you will be interested on how much it is. So let's go through pricing and then we'll go through what happens once you buy the script. So here we are on the HSVE shop. You can see the script is priced at $9.99. Now this script offers 5 years of unlimited use with that £10 purchase fee. Obviously all the revenue generated from the product goes into obviously making these videos, bringing more content to you, keeping the website up and running, etc. Now I can see here obviously the script says it'll only work for 3 months, but we've recently changed our terms. I've posted a notice in Discord and on our YouTube community page, and now we're offering 5-year use. Now, as obviously this video gets released, I will update these terms. But you can see our version will get a macOS, Windows, DSM, Android, and more. So let's go on to what happens once you buy the script, and then we'll run the script and see where that takes us. So stay tuned. Thank you. So once you bought the script, you will be directed to a link that looks a bit like this. Now, depending on your authentication session, you may need to log in at the top right, just like I will need to here. But you can see it instructs you to do that. So I'm going to log myself in, and then once we're logged in, I'll show you how easy it is to get up and running. So you can see we're logged in now and we're greeted with the setup command. Now I'm going to blur this out obviously, just because if you haven't bought the script and you see it on the screen, that's going to give you free access. Now this script used to be free back in the day, but it didn't include the features that it does now, and also back in the day, of course, we weren't a big sort of community. So now that we're getting more demand, more, obviously hiring more staff, things like that, we do need to put a charge on this, unfortunately. Now, if you've bought the script within the past 6 months, you are eligible for a free upgrade to the 5-year use one, as discussed in the Discord and the YouTube community. So please be sure to reach out, because I'm very happy to give you one of those for supporting us. But all we're going to do is, if we copy the command that's on screen and head over to our PVE node, all we need to do is paste it in. So let's do that. So I've just pasted the script link in. So if I press enter, you can see we get a menu like this. So this menu, obviously, you can follow from steps 1 all the way through to 7. In no particular order, of course, but I do recommend going from at least 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 7 and 6 if needed, but some people will only need 6. Anyway, I'm going to show you. So if we click Start Configuring macOS, so press number 1, it'll take us asking what our CPU brand is, and it'll get all the virtualization stuff ready. Now, I've already done this, so I'm going to quit the script out, but bear with me. Let me just rerun that script. Same again with GPU configuration, it's all on-screen instructions, but since I've already got this up and running, I'm not going to run it again. Now, option 3, I can actually show you, so we'll be downloading the macOS template. So if I press number 3 and just allow, for example, Sequoia to download, you can see that'll download from the server. And once that's downloaded, I've already got it downloaded, so I'm going to stop that. You can either change your download location if you've got a NAS like me. So if you've got an ISOs folder, then obviously change that to allow for your needs. But if we press number 6 and then choose where we want to restore it to, so I'm going to do it to my SAN, and then you can see here the Sequoia. If we press number 1, that'll begin to restore. So you can see it doesn't take too long, but again, depending on your storage and things like that, depends on how long it's going to take. Now, I've just got a little error here. I'm just going to trace what that is, so bear with me. So the error was due to me not saving my, changing my download location to my ISOs folder. But now, if we click restore and restore to SAN, you can see I've got a lot more templates to choose from here. What I'm going to do, just to get the name, these will have all been changed around by the time you see this video, but for the case of this video, I'm just going to do 2003, which is number 1, and then press enter. And again, as I was saying before, it shouldn't take too long to restore, but again, depending on your disks, depends on how long it's going to take. So I'll be back with you in a few moments once it's restored, and then we'll go on to the next steps. So obviously when it's finished restoring, you'll get a brilliant message of restored successfully as VM ID and then whatever your ID is, so 103 for myself. If I press enter to continue, that's all we need to do in the script for now. So if I press number 8 and enter, that'll exit the script. Now if we go to our VM ID, you can see we have a notes section that you may need to expand, but in the notes section we have some generic notes. Now before rebooting the VM, you may need to replace some arguments. So I'm going to show you on video, but all this is documented within this template. But if you have Intel 12th gen to 14th gen CPUs, you're going to copy these arguments completely for your system. If you've got an AMD CPU, so that ranges from the Ryzen 3 all the way up to AMD EPYC, you're going to copy these arguments. Now, I've got a Ryzen 7 2700X in this node that I'm working on now, so I'm going to copy these for later instruction. Now, it gives us some generic install instructions, and it also gives us a few guides as well. Now, I'm going to go through those guides with you on screen. These are available for free, no matter if you bought the script or not. So obviously, if you've set up macOS in Proxmox yourself, these guides are still available for free for you to learn more. So, I've copied those arguments. We're going to head to the node, go to the terminal shell, and do nano /etc/pve/QEMU server /103.conf, or whatever your VM ID is here. Press enter, you'll get a screen like this. Then we're just going to hold control and then press the down arrow to go to the bottom of the file, scroll up, and where it says args, we're going to comment it out with the hash symbol. If we go down to balloon and press enter, put a gap there, right click, click paste, control X, Y, enter, and now we're ready to boot the VM. Now, I've left it obviously a default 4 gigabytes, but I'm just going to up that to 8. So depending on your system, we'd recommend at least 16 gigabytes for this. Now, not 16 gig of the VM. If you just want 8, that's fine, but at least 2 gigabytes needs to go to the PVE node for it to work fully. So let's go to console and start now. So you can see the VM is starting. Let's full screen this. And then we get greeted with the OpenCore bootloader. If we press enter on install macOS Sequoia, you can see it begins to load up. You just have to give it a few moments. But once it's booted, I can see that it's nearly done now. You can see we're in the recovery. So in the recovery environment, all we're going to do, disk utility, go up to the Apple Link Verte or Block Media, erase, give it a name, I'm just going to call it HSVE, erase again, wait for that to erase, it shouldn't take too long, click done, close disk utility, double click install macOS Sequoia, or whatever version you've chosen, if you've chosen Ventura, etc. Click on continue. Now on the continue screen sometimes it does whirl around, just bear with it. Again, don't be too impatient, otherwise the installer may crash. Now this is due to obviously having no graphics acceleration as of yet, but I'll go through later in the video how we can get that working, and I'll also give you a live demo of what that looks like. So please bear with me whilst I get that set up for you. So once this is finished whirling, you can see the terms and conditions. I've read through these, so I'm going to agree to them. Select our disk and click continue. So you can see about 19 minutes remaining. Depending on your discs, may take longer or shorter. But I'll be back with you. The system will reboot, and I'll show you what to do once it reboots. So I'll be back once that's done. If you did make it this far into the video, I would like to say thanks for watching. If you could show your appreciation by giving this video a like and consider subscribing. If you're interested into Proxmox and macOS and virtualization, then this channel may be for you. So why not give me a subscribe, and then I'll make more videos like this one. So let's wait for this to install, and I'll meet you once we've rebooted. So at some point after reboot, we'll get to a screen that looks like this. I'm just going to zoom in for you at the moment, and you can see now we have a macOS installer icon here. We're just going to scroll across with the keyboard arrows and press enter on the macOS installer. Now the system will then show a timer, usually around 20 minutes, and sometimes it can be a bit higher, more like 30, but all we need to do is wait for this. If it does reboot again, be sure to select the macOS installer, and once that's run through, hopefully we should get to the macOS setup screen shortly. So we'll wait for this to run through, and I'll be back once we're ready for the final boot. So here we are on the setup page for Sequoia. So we're all booted in. Now there is a white screen, and again that is because we don't have GPU pass-through. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to select my country, so Manchester United Kingdom, and we're going to go through the setup. I'm just going to leave this at default. We're going to go through the setup. Now the only thing we're going to do differently is skip any Apple ID setup, migration assistant, etc. just for now. So setup later, skip, and then read through the terms. I'm going to agree to those and give your user a name and a password. Oops. And set a profile picture or whatever, I'm not bothered, and click continue. Now on the create an account stage it does take quite a while, so please bear with me. So I'm going to leave location services off for now. You can do whatever. Select your time zone. Don't show any analytics. Set it up later. Do whatever you like. I'll leave it at default. Maybe change it to dark actually. There we go. Continue. And shortly we should get the welcome to Mac. Now it doesn't look as pretty because we've not got graphics acceleration, but let's click continue. And then we're on the desktop, so you can see we can set this up. I'm just going to quit it for now. The first thing that we're going to do on the desktop is go into Finder and then find the HSVE disk. So we click on that and drag this getting started folder either on your desktop or in your downloads. So if we drag that over, This is everything that you need to get started with macOS on Proxmox. So the HSVE team have worked together to create the best EFIs, the best configuration, obviously a bundle of tools and everything that you need within obviously this folder. So you can see it's a gigabyte in size, so quite a big folder. But let's get started. So first, if we go to tools, now there is different ways of doing this. I do it the old-fashioned way, but I do know that Tor, one of our moderators, and obviously the creator of these macOS templates, uses Mount EFI or auxiliary tools. If you want to use those, please go ahead and do so. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way and right-click and open up the OpenCore config zip. Right-click again and click Open. Now you do get a security error like this. Just click Done. Pop open to System Settings. Go to scroll down to Privacy. Scroll down to the bottom and click Open Anyway. Now this is a new Sequoia thing. It is very annoying, but we've got a workaround. So this is OpenCore Configurator. If you've never used it before, I'll just show you a brief overview on what we can do to configure our system. So first, if we go to Tools and Mount EFI, we need to mount our EFI partition on our obviously our block media. So if we click Mount Partition and pop in our user password, there we go, so it's mounted. If we click Open Partition, you can see it's empty, it doesn't have an EFI in it yet. So if we go back to our tools and go back a folder, you can see there's an EFIs folder. If we double click into that, we get 4 options. Now, depending on your GPU, depends on which one you need. Now, for the 5000 and 6000 series GPUs of AMD, so if you have the 6900 XT, for example, you'll choose that one. If you've got any of the native GPUs, such as the RX 580, RX 550, things like that, you use this one. So I've got the RX 570, so I'm going to be using that. Then if you've got one of the legacy GPUs, if you're using Ventura, they'll work fine with some additional configuration. Again, I'll leave the link in the description to the pass-through guide that you'll get, obviously bundled with the template within the notes section. You can see USB pass-through, cores guide, resize guide, things like that. But I'll leave it in the description as well, just in case you need it. Or if you don't want to use a GPU, you've got that option too. Now, I will also leave a GPU compatibility guide in the description on the correct GPU that you need and the corresponding EFI folder for these GPUs. Now, I'm going to choose native GPUs, so I'm going to right click and open. This will then extract the EFI folder. So once that's done, double click inside that. And this EFI folder, we just need to drag to the EFI partition. So once that's copied, it should look like EFI volume, and inside that we have the EFI folder. Once we do have that, if we, let's just clean up. Once we do have that, if we double click into EFI, double click into OC, and double click the config.plist, you can see bare minimum at the moment. This is all you need to get started, but there is more to it. So for example, now if I go to platform info, depending on your system, you can choose different SMBIOS. So I've got an 8-core CPU, so I'm just going to go straight to the Mac Pro 2019. So that will fill out automatically. Generate yourself a random serial number and a random UUID. Go to memory, type detail, synchronous. This is for most people. Total width is 64. And the type as DDR4. Now if you've got DDR5, you just put DDR4 and DIMM for me. Now I'm going to just give this VM 8GB of RAM. Now the size is obviously going to be 4096, 3200 MHz RAM, and we're going to do 2 slots of 4GB, which is obviously 8GB to obviously virtualize that dual channel capability. Now you can go extra and go through the manufacturer, bank locator, device locator, etc. But that's just an additional option. So I'm going to save that now. If we close OCC and shut down macOS, untick that box, once it's shut down, all we need to do is remove the IDE disks that have the default EFI installed and the open core tools that we've copied to our downloads folder. So if we go to hardware and remove the IDE 0 and IDE 2 disks, you can keep them at the bottom, but I'm just going to click remove. And what I recommend doing before you start the VM back up is go to snapshots, take snapshot and just call it clean install with EFI. Take snapshot, and there we go. So this is the power with Proxmox, is if we make a change and it buggers something up, we can click roll back, yes, and it'll take us back to this exact point. So now if we boot up the VM, we are then almost ready to pass through our GPU. There's just a few things that I prefer to do. So let's boot up Sequoia and I'll be back with you when we're on the desktop. So really the only thing we need to do now before we pass our GPU through is go to System Settings, Sharing, and turn on Screen Sharing. So turn that on. Now if we power down the VM, like so, we're ready to pass through our GPU. Now, obviously providing that you've followed all the steps in the template that it tells you to do from 1 to 7, then you'll be ready to do what I'm doing here. Now I've obviously followed these and I've already got it set up for my main workstation, which is VMID 100. So all I need to do is go to hardware, add PCI device, raw device, scroll down, select my GPU, which is this one here. Tick all functions, PCI Express and primary GPU, click add, double click on display and set it to none. So that means that obviously VNC will be disabled. That's why we've enabled built-in VNC in macOS. So if we click on start now, you'll be able to see that it will begin to start. Now if we try and go to console, it actually won't connect to VNC just because we've disabled that, because now it's running on the built-in GPU. So this is running the RX 570 now. Once the VM's booted up, we'll get a IP address. Now we can put this IP address into our VNC agent on our Windows computer or macOS computer. You can see it will get an IP address in the moment, and then we can obviously use it from there. Now I usually go the extra step and pass through my USBs, switch my HDMI input, and obviously then it will give you the full usability. But what I'm going to do is, just to show you, I'm going to put that IP address into my VNC agent and bring it up for you. So here we are. So if we log in now, with VNC it's not going to be the smoothest possible because it's obviously going over the network. But once we're logged in, you'll be able to see that it is already a little bit different to not having graphics pass through. So you'll be able to do rendering, things like that. And what I'll do, I'll just show you a quick GeekBench test that we can run. But you can see the taskbar is transparent and things like that. And if you look at your HDMI or DisplayPort output, you will be able to see that it's displaying on there also. You can then go to pass through your USB devices, such as your keyboard and mouse, to the VM, and then you'll be able to use it just like a Mac. Now I'm going to run GeekBench just to show you the performance of the RX 570 within macOS. It's just to show you that obviously it's getting decent metal score and things like that. Just let's wait for this to download and then I'll be back with you in a moment. So that's downloaded. Let me just show it in Finder. Right click, open, and then we'll run a GeekBench test. So this will obviously test the metal performance of our GPU. We can do an open GL1 or whatever it's called, but I'll just do a metal test. So an OpenCL, sorry. We'll do metal RX 570. Let's run that GPU benchmark, and we'll let that run through, and then we'll obviously be able to see how it performs. So let's wait for that. So the results are in. So we got 35,176 on the RX 570. Now I obviously have no clue about benchmarking, so this is obviously 4 cores, 8 gigabytes of RAM at 3200 megatransfers with the RX 570 GPU, and that's what we get. So it just shows that the performance obviously hasn't affected the virtualization layer. So if we look here at, bear with, so you can see the exact same person that has the same GPU have got the exact same score on bare metal. So we've done really great with that. Now, all I obviously recommend is if you are going to do, video editing and things like that, please don't use VNC. Plug a keyboard and mouse in, pass that through to the VM, and then use the HDMI or DisplayPort output. But that's going to be it for this video. If you did find it helpful, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Obviously, we appreciate all the support by buying the template, because it really does help us stay up and running. Certainly making videos and web development and things like that. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.